Hello everyone, I got another really meaty script for you today. When I started making these Starfield videos, it was not originally my intent to be consistently spitting out 25 paragraph essays, but here we are. That's why there's a bit of a delay. I can't just sit down and write these things all in one sitting. I also just wanted to say thanks for all the support with the last video. I was pretty nervous about that one. I'm glad to see it's landing well. It's been a lot of great comments, so thank you for that in general. That was really nice to see. All right, today we're going to be getting a bit technical, but not too technical because, frankly, I'm not qualified to go any deeper than I plan to go today. So consider this a beginner's guide to SFSE plugins. Now, I am going to include a very short sort of guide on how to install an SFSE plugin, just for the sake of making this a sort of comprehensive all-in-one kind of thing. But my real goal here today is to give people a better understanding of what exactly an SFE plugin is and why they're so important. As always, the video will be segmented into chapters for easy navigation if you're only interested in one part or whatever. The gameplay you're seeing today is my very first impressions of Starfield. I recorded it mostly at the time for posterity, but it makes some decent B-roll footage, so that's what you're gonna be seeing between the stuff that needs to be visualized. But first, while we're on the topic of plugs, I rebooted my Discord server. Look, it's so great that Constellation insisted on putting up an ad for it in their main meeting area. I was like, dude, this is too tacky. This is too much. And they're like, no, we insist. So it's that amazing. It's a mod-focused server where you can come hang out with me and talk about modding, but, also just whatever else. I've even got a mod spotlight channel, so you can just come and see a giant list of mods I think are cool if you want. Link in the description. All right, that's enough. Back to the video. All right, so as I said, we're going to have a little bit of a tutorial, quote unquote, on how to install SFSE plugins. Now, I say that with like quotations because it's not really you should just be using a mod manager, be it Vortex or Mod Organizer too. So there's not really that much to show you other than just install it this way, but what I will show you is where they actually go. So if you open your game mods folder and then go into data, so this is the root folder. So if you've installed SFSE, this is where it goes. This is where the loader and the shortcut and everything goes. But inside is the data folder, and this is where all the game's actual content goes. And the plugins go in SFSE plugins, and this is also where you'll find any settings that you can mess with that mod. Sometimes they don't have that, sometimes they do. It varies on a case-by-case basis, but yeah, that's basically where they go, and there's not really much else to show, so we're going to call that a tutorial. Again, to preface this, I am an absolute amateur in this field. I am not yet to the point of making my own SFSE plugin. I'm getting there, but we're not there yet. So, if I get anything wrong in this video and you know better, please by all means correct me in the comments, and I will post any corrections in the pinned comment below. So, in my explanation here, I'm going to be using SKSE plugins as an example, because they work pretty much the same way in Starfield, and like I said in my last video, that's why Creation Engine is so important. There's already hundreds of people who already know how to do this, and it shows very clearly in the sheer abundance we have in these mods just a few weeks in. Now, to start this, I'm going to give you a little crash course with terminology you will hear me say a lot in this video. The main thing you need to know is that SKSE plugins and .esp files, which stands for Elder Scrolls Plugin, they function in very different ways. If you've done simpler modding, or if you modded on console at all, ESPs will be what you're familiar with. But SKSE plugins are fundamentally different, even though I will frequently refer to both of them as plugins, so I just want to clear that up. So, let's start with the main and most often touted benefit. They are better for save stability. My understanding of why this is the case is that they are loaded into the game on startup and are applied globally, more like an extension of the Creation Engine itself, rather than being loaded into the save file like a traditional ESP. And this allows them to have a negligible effect on your overall save stability. When you're modding Skyrim, it is also a generally advisable rule of thumb to avoid additional scripts when possible, because again, SKSE plugins don't have any of that stuff, and it isn't being loaded into your save, while providing many of the same functions that scripts do. To be very clear though, this does not mean that SKSE plugins do not suffer from any problems. They can come with their own bugs, and they can still conflict with other SKSE plugins in some instances. But because none of this is being loaded into the save itself, there aren't any lasting impacts on it. So while you may still encounter bugs and crashes, you don't need to worry about them corrupting or degrading the stability of your save game. Some SKSE plugins will come with small little ESP files that are in most cases usually just used to give the mod an in-game MCM or mod configuration menu, and also sometimes a handful of other things. But these are very small, lightweight ESPs that are usually flagged as light so as not to contribute to the 255 ESP limit, and they will very rarely have any issues with other mods. They kind of just quietly sit in the back and do their own thing. Now that we have a basic overview of the benefits, we're going to move on to their sole one weakness. And that sole weakness, as opposed to a traditional ESP file, is that if the game is updated, as in the version number changes, then all script extender plugins must be updated to recognize that new version. It's not a huge update, but it's one that has to happen nonetheless. And another thing to keep in mind with that is whether or not a mod is open source. Now, to put it simply, if you don't have the source code of a SKSE or SFSE plugin, you can't make changes to that plugin, even if you have the technical knowledge to do so. So, if you have a closed source plugin, that means only the author has the source code and only they can make changes to it. So, if you have a closed source plugin and its author goes missing and then Bethesda updates the game, now there's a problem. Anyone who updates their game cannot use it anymore without downgrading, and anyone who wants to continue using the mod cannot update. Now, in Skyrim, there actually has been a way around this called Common Lib SSE-NG, which solves the version issue, and by the time SKSE plugins really took off around 2020, Bethesda was mostly done updating the game, so the effect of this wasn't as apparent as it could have been. But, to my knowledge, Starfield does not yet have an equivalent to Common Lib SSE-NG, and obviously there will be very, very, very many updates in the future for the game, so I think this is a problem that will be encountered a lot more frequently. So, if your game ever fails to start up and the game has just been updated, that's probably your issue. I think it's likely we'll see a solution come about pretty soon, but at the time of me recording this, it is something to keep in mind. So, now I'm going to tell you why they're worth all this trouble anyways. Now, to properly convey how revolutionary SKSE plugins are, and how revolutionary their Starfield counterparts will one day be, I need to take y'all on a little trip back in time. I need to take you back to the before days to show you what one once had to do to accomplish the same effect. And for this, I believe there is no better example than Simple Dual Sheath. Simple Dual Sheath is a simple mod with a simple name. It makes it so that your left weapon is visible on your character's hip, which is not the case in vanilla Skyrim. This may not sound like much, but again, now I'm going to take you back to the before times. This is Dual Sheath Redux. I know it's called Redux, but I haven't found an older version, and this is the first one that I used personally, so this is what we're going with. As you can see, I last downloaded this a little over 5 years ago. Actually, we're closing on 6 now at this point. So, this does the same thing as Simple Dual Sheath. But, look at this. Look at all of these files. And this is just for the vanilla game. Okay? You needed modified weapon models for every single weapon you wanted to be supported. Meaning you needed as many patches as you had weapon mods. And so, if you added a new weapon mod, it was like, ah, shit, well, now I gotta go update Dual Sheath now, too. If there was even a patch available, or if you were willing to do it yourself, which isn't that hard, but it was certainly far more than the average Skyrim player is willing to do. Oh, yeah, and you also had an external patcher that you had to run anytime you made any changes. So that was also a thing you had to do. Now, this was improved with Ecotone Dual Sheath, or Ecotone? Ecotone? I don't know, I'm going with Ecotone. Ecotone Dual Sheath was better in that it was able to do away with the external patcher tool. You didn't need that anymore, but it's still, all this and still weapon patches for every single weapon mod that you want to be supported. So the file contents are still looking pretty beefy here. Then, cut forward to May 17th, 2021. It's an average day on Nexus, and then boom! Simple Dual Sheath appears. And in that moment, all of this, the external patcher, all the weapon models, was reduced down to this. This is it. There is no external tool, there are no scripts, no patches, and no ESP. You install this, and its prerequisites, and that's it. You're done. You never have to think about it again. I remember the day this came up, I had to reread it like 3 times, and I almost didn't believe it at first. I'm sitting there like, really? There's no patches. You don't need any of that. You're serious. You pulling my leg? But no! As it turns out, Slavic Potato 1, or as I affectionately called them, Lord Slav Spud I, was in fact not pulling my leg. It was very real, and they were very serious. Now, of course, just to be clear, Ecotone and Redux were both absolutely groundbreaking in their time, and they laid the foundations for the golden age we're in now, and I have nothing but the highest respect for them and their creators. But, you know, simple dual sheath is more or less the perfect solution. It does its job about as well as is physically possible. There's really not much room for improvement. But that is the kind of impact that SKSE plugins have had on pretty much every aspect of the game. You name it, there's an SKSE plugin for it. Sound record distributor, base object swapper, spell perk item distributor, Skyrim motion control, animation motion revolution, engine fixes, open animation replacer. Basically everything Power of 3 has ever made. I could literally go on for several minutes just listing SKSE plugins that I am no longer willing to play Skyrim without. I think I hit the microphone, I apologize. But ladies and gentlemen, all of this is going to be coming to Starfield eventually, and it has already begun to. And Skyrim will also benefit from this as well. There's already a performance-enhancing SFSE plugin that has been backported into Skyrim as an SKSE plugin. With all this said, I want to make it clear that this does not mean that ESPs are obsolete or anything like that. They are still absolutely essential because without them, no actual substantive amount of additional content can be added to the game. We're stuck with reskins and other basic replacers right now, and that will continue to be the case until Bethesda releases Creation Kit 2, which is the only way to create Starfield ESPs. Now, I'm going to spend the final portion of this video going over my personal favorite SFSE plugins so far, though I'm sure this list won't age particularly well. I'm not really going to demonstrate any of them because they're all quite self-explanatory, and some of them are difficult to really show in a video anyways, so I'm just going to show their page, explain them, and then leave the link in the description. Alright, we've reached the unscripted portion of this video. So, I've got a few tabs open here with some SFSE plugins we're going to go over. I'm just going to rattle off what they do. But first, I'm going to show you a little tip if you happen to be new to Nexus at all. If you go to Starfield Script Extender and then open the Requirements tab, it doesn't just show you requirements for that mod. It also shows you every mod that requires this file. So, any SFSE plugins you'll be able to find in here. And as you can see, there's a whole lot of them. Way more than I could go over in a single video. Now, the next disclaimer about this is that I haven't used some of these myself because, full disclosure, I've basically stopped playing Starfield. I haven't played it in like a week. I'm kind of just waiting for Creation Kit at this point. So, anyways, first up, Power of 3. I mentioned him earlier in the video. Here he is. With hold to equip extended. So if you noticed in the game, if you walk up to a weapon that's lying on the ground and you hold E, you can automatically equip it along with obviously taking it into your inventory. But you can't do this with things like food and stuff. But this makes it so that you can, which is great. Next up, alright, so this is another one. This is one that I have not tried yet. This is called Slower Than Light. But the reason I want to bring it up is because this appears to be, as far as I can tell, this is Starfield's equivalent of Elite Dangerous's Super Cruise, or what do they call it in No Man's Sky? The pulse engines, I think. The things that you use to travel between planets. This allows you to do that more effectively because you can actually fly through a system and fly from one planet to another manually, but you're traveling so slow and the systems are so big that it would take it. Someone on Twitch, I think, managed to go from Mars to Pluto, and it took them like 9 hours. So, yeah. But this mod will allow you to do that a bit more rationally, by allowing you to move more than 100 times the speed of light. So, yeah, basically. So that's what this is. Alright, got another Power of 3 mod. Enable Friendly Fire. Pretty self-explanatory. Enables friendly fire for all NPCs. Larger systems. Haven't tried this one yet, but honestly, it looks pretty cool. Look, it makes the systems... So this is Sol in the map in vanilla, and then this is it with the mod. It just makes it... I just think the scale works a bit better. So that's a nice one. Next, apparently a radio. Again, haven't tried it, but it sounds pretty cool, and it's got 176 endorsements. So I think it made it onto the featured page for at least a day. So yeah, it must work pretty well. So definitely go give that a shot if you're looking for some tunes. Next up is console command runner. So a lot of mods right now require you to run a console command upon starting up the game. This is an SFSE plugin that automatically runs a list of console commands that you add into a configuration file in the plugins folder that I showed you in the tutorial at the beginning of the video. And then when you start up the game, it automatically runs all of those console commands so that you don't have to do it yourself. So that's great. Now, the last two we're going to look at are Baka Achievement Enabler and Baka Disable My Games folder. Now, Achievement Enabler, that's pretty self-explanatory. It's an SFSE plugin that makes it so that you don't have to worry about having your achievements disabled for using the console or for adding mods. Finally, there's Baka Disable My Games folder, which is related to a quirk that currently exists with Starfield modding. So basically, when you're installing something like a texture replacer or something like that, where it would typically go, the sane way to do it would be to put it in your data folder in the Starfield root folder, which is where, all of the Starfield ESMs and ESPs are and stuff like that. But if you load the textures in the game's file structure and just put them into the data folder like this, then the game will automatically load them into the game. And this is the normal way to do it. This is the way we've been doing it for like 10 years. But for some reason, Bethesda decided, no, this time, you guys are going to put all of the textures and loose assets into your documents folder where your saved games are. Why they chose to do this, I have no idea, but that's how it turned out. So Vortex has a way around this, but what I've been using is this. It is an SFSE plugin that disables the documents folder for loose assets and moves it back to where it should be in the data folder. Wait, yeah, this is the data folder. The data folder. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess Vortex has a fix for it, but if you're using Mod Organizer 2 or whatever, this is your solution. So all in all, SFSE plugins are shaping up to be pretty amazing. They're going to lead to some pretty mind-bending things one day, and the fact that we got them so unprecedentedly early in the game's lifespan is pretty amazing, and I think that some pretty wild stuff is going to come around even before Creation Kit 2 because of it. So, that's where I'm going to leave the video today. I hope you guys found it informative. Again, forgive any sort of abrupt editing or kind of stilted script writing and stuff like that. I'm still getting used to this really structured format. I usually just wing my videos, but I'm trying to get used to not doing that. So bear with me. But anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked it, maybe click subscribe or like it or comment. Say, Sarcastic Dragon, your Discord server sucks. And that may be true, but that's why I need more people. So, link in the description. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.